talked about. He has talked. Please, once you can't hear me anymore, my network. Once you can't hear me anymore, just drop a chat. Let me know that I'm speaking to myself. Okay. So he has introduced Ansible, but I'll still talk about a little thing. And like we all know, this is supposed to be an introduction. Okay, so we make it foundational as much as we can. We won't go to deep, but we'll have enough to kick off. So because these days, even Ansible themselves, they are they're improving. They are adding a lot of things to Ansible, a lot of things. Today we have Ansible automation, and it's taking over Ansible Tower. And so every day they're adding things. They're trying to make automation as simple as possible. So I don't think we ourselves need to waste time in learning. So like I said, I'll make it as most foundational as possible so that anybody can build on it. The next person that will speak on this can build on it. You yourself can go out and study more and build on it. So that's so this is like the foundational. So I'll make it as short as possible as well. So if you have questions, we can ask. All right, I'll share my screen shortly. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, so this is my wonderful slide. There's no PowerPoint. I don't think there's need for PowerPoint anymore. So Ansible, it's a tool, a very important one for automation. It's a configuration management tool, but I think it's doing more than that. So when Ansible foundational Ansible has always been for configuration. People tell you if you want to set up infrastructure, if you want to deploy infrastructure, that Terraform is good. Yes, Terraform is good. I think it's one of the best for infrastructure setup. But Ansible is also doing infrastructure. You can deploy your VMs on vCenter with Ansible. You can set up EC2 instances on AWS with Ansible. And like I said earlier, they are bringing in a lot of things, automation. And the idea is this: they want to be able to automate everything, almost everything in technology. So it's like that was said earlier, it's not tied to DevOps alone. Okay, so it's way beyond DevOps now. You can automate storage, you can automate network devices, So like I listed them here, infrastructure automation can be done with Ansible, and network automation as well. Security automation, security tools now can be automated as well. And apart from automation, configuration, I think that's even the basic thing that Ansible does. You can change configurations. You can make it as easy as it can be. Now, why is it popular? Why is Ansible popular? We have a lot of configuration management tools. In fact, in DevOps, you have a lot of tools, and I don't think there's anybody that knows how to use all the tools in DevOps. I don't think there's anybody, but if there's anybody like that, kudos. So Ansible is popular. My opinion, though, I think the reason it's popular is because it's easy to use. I think that's the first thing. It's easy to use. Anybody can just go to Ansible documentation once you understand the basics and start automating things. I think that's one of the things that made it popular. Some other persons will say it's because it's agentless. You don't need to deploy any agent to. So that takes me to number 3, Ansible, Chef and Puppet versus Chef and Puppet. So Chef and Puppet 2 are famous tools for configuration. But the difference with Ansible is that they you need to install an agent they all have the same mode of operation, but now Ansible has playbook. Chef, I think they have cookbook, something like that. Yeah. So it's all about configuring things and pushing it to servers for Ansible. Then for Chef, I think it's setting up your cookbook and getting your devices to pull the new changes from the master. So I think being agent-led is one of the reasons why, I don't know, that's personal, why Ansible is popular, because I don't need to start deploying agents. So once I can access myself, I can configure them. Yeah, so Ansible installation, it's very, I'll try to make this as fast as possible. Ansible installation is very, guess what? Simple. Yes, it's as simple. The work this tool does, I can't believe it's that simple to install, at least for the Linux version of it. We have Ansible Tower. We have Ansible Automation. That's the one they're doing now. So those ones might not be as easy as to set up, but those ones are for enterprise. I don't see an individual getting Ansible Tower. You don't need it as an individual. So those ones are enterprise. So, and they have GUI. So that makes it a little bit easier, and it does a lot of things. So for individuals, Ansible installation is very simple. All you need is a Linux box, and all you need to do is to yum install Ansible or to install Ansible, and it's done. It doesn't take a lot. And like I mentioned earlier, Ansible Tower, I think they're phasing it out. I've seen some demo on Ansible Automation, and they've made it so they've added a lot of things to Ansible Automation. You can now import an environment. If you want to configure Cisco devices, you can import Cisco environment. You can import VMware. You can import storage, NetApp, Dell. They've done a lot of things on this automation, and then they even added approval. Before we want to deploy configurations, someone will approve before it's complete. So they are doing a lot of things. That's automation. Okay, so let's now go to the key components. One thing you need, I know some of us before now we have done lots of things on Ansible, so you have to pardon me because this is like introduction, so I'll be doing the basics. So if it's something you've done already, it's like refreshing your memory, and then maybe question time you can add one or two things to what I'm saying. So text editor is very important. You need it to start. I use Visual Code. Some people use Notepad++. We have a lot of text editors, but I use Visual Code for mine. So it makes it a lot easier to configure, to edit files and to deploy. Yeah. So you need that. Then let's talk about the key components of Ansible now. Inventory file. So that's the main guy. There's one scenario I wanted to give. Sorry. So basically, I have to put these already, so I don't have to start typing them from the beginning. So to make it easier for us. So hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, my screen. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so the host or inventory file is one of the major components of Ansible. So when you're deploying something, who are you deploying to? Obviously your servers. So you need to have an inventory where you have all your servers listed, and how you list them as well is important. Okay, so from what you can see here, we have a lot of, not just two, I will show you the other ones in documentation, but the most ones people use, we have the ini and we have the YAML file. Personally, I think ini file is easier to set up, so I prefer using that. Some other persons prefer using YAML, but I will show you YAML shortly. So for the host file, it's like an inventory where you have all the hosts you want to talk to, and it's more than that. You can also put in variables you need to communicate to a host. For example, this is my host, web my domain.local, and I want to communicate to this guy. I want to send to this guy as a user root, for example. So I have to add that variable to it. I want to talk to this guy. There are other things you can add. I will show you documentations where you have a lot. You can add the Ansible port, the ports you want to connect with, port 22. You can add the key file, Ansible. Let's go SSH Friday. Just key underscore file. So if you want to use a key file to log in, you can put the location where the guy is. So that's why this guy does. It's not just list of hosts.
Hello,
Yeah,
can we ask a question now?
Can they ask questions next time?
No, we can't ask questions now. We'd have to wait till the end of the lecture. Yeah. Or Ephraim, maybe after a few minutes, maybe after like 10 or 20 minutes, you can give room for questions.
Okay, so I'll do it this way. I'm talking about inventory now. When I'm done with inventory, I'll ask if you have questions on inventory. I'll answer them.
Okay.
Move to playbooks. All right, I think it's better that way. So these are the variables you can use to connect to this guy, the host. Then here comes the tricky part. Now you have groups. Inventory file, you have groups. So this DB is a group. Whenever you see square bracket inside a .nin file, it's talking about groups. So all the hosts listed under this guy are under this group. What does that do for me? If I want to talk to these guys, okay, I want to talk to these guys, what do? I'll just because my playbook, instead of using all, I'll just put DB. Okay, and if I push this guy, it's gonna run only on my DB files, on my DB servers. So if I want to talk to web, I'll show you. I'll do a demonstration shortly. If you want to talk to web, you can push on to web, and it will only talk to these guys. If I want to talk to individual, that the ID in a group doesn't mean I have to talk to them individually. If I want to talk to these guys too, I also put this guy, this name of this guy as the host I want to talk to. So that means I'm only talking to this guy. Now we have nested groups. Yes. So you can see this guy here. Customer one. This is the syntax for it. Customer one, then children. So this means that DB is a group. Web is a group. So I can group these guys into customers. So if I want to target customers, maybe I have customer one, customer two, customer three. I want to target to the customer three. I'll just send it to this guy. Instead of sending to DB, send to web, I can just send to customer one, and it goes to all of them and exempts this guy that is not in any of the group. So it helps you manage your servers in a host file. The groups help you manage your deployment. Now it's recommended that we do not put dev and production in the same group. Yeah, it's a recommendation. People can do it, but personally I advise people not to do it. Why? Because like I said here, you might have an or here and you didn't check and you deploy it. It was meant for production alone, dev alone, and it pushes it to production. So if you have a production environment, you can have as many host files as you want. Okay, so when you're running your playbook, you can direct it to the particular host file you want to send it to. So you mustn't have all your infrastructures on all your servers on inside one host file. That's clear. So do you have questions on this guy before I go to YAML? Because YAML is a little bit confusing. I guess that's why most people use host.nin. So let me take the questions now so we can just move.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Chime. From the look of things, I think maybe you're working from the what's the name? You're using VS Code. The last time I came across Ansible, I walked through my MacBook terminal. I don't know if it's okay in this case too.
To use your MacBook?
Yeah, the last time I worked with Ansible, I used my MacBook terminal. I don't know if it's okay since you're using the VS Code environment.
Yeah, you can use any terminal you want to use. Okay, inside your MacBook, you can. This is a host file. Okay, I'm using VS Code because it helps me look at the syntax. If I make mistake, I can correct it. I can even see the mistake. I can see for YAML file, I can see the indentation, which is very key when you're doing your own file. Even for this guy, so if you make a mistake in your formatting, you will see it immediately. That's why I use this guy. But if your terminal, if you can use, what's it called? Normal file editing, VI, your terminal, you can use VI, Nano, VIM.
Yeah, I can use Nano, I can use Echo and all.
The problem is the .nin. If I put your name and say nkem.nin, it sees it and point it as the host file. It's not going to it. It doesn't mean whatever tool you want to use to deploy it. You're just using the text files. I'm just using the text. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Just use the text file to fix it, to make it easier for us.
Okay, let me don't be long so that others will go ahead. So at what point are we going to use the YAML file, host file, Docker file, and web app file?
You can use any file anytime. You can use file anytime. They are just two, like I said, they are doing the same thing. It's just the format. Okay. YAML file will give you the same thing. The playbook is YAML file. Playbook is always YAML file. But for your host, you can use .nin. You can use, they have different formats. I can see this is the same thing as this guy, but I can see the format it's taking. So that's just the difference. So when you want to run your playbook, you point it to any of them. Once it's .nin or YAML, any of them to give you the same thing. It's up to you to decide the one you want to use. So like I said, I use this guy most of the time. It's easy for me to navigate through. But if you can use this guy, it's also the same thing. So let me now go to YAML. That's clear, right?
Oh, that's clear. That's clear.
Okay, good. So let me move on. All right, so for YAML, you have all. What does all mean? All means it applies to everything here. Then you have your host. This is the single host. Whenever you see a host, whatever coming next is a single host or the host name. Then this host, the reason it's coming like this. Okay, I'll recommend as well because of time. We can't do everything on this call. You can also go back and look at YAML because a lot of tools these days work with YAML, Terraform, a lot of them. So it's good you know how this works. And one thing about YAML files is the indentation. It's a lot. Kubernetes to YAML. So you need to. It's good we learn how this works. Okay, good. So this host here, having a colon here means that you can still add value. So if I want to add, like I did here, if I want to add Ansible root, Ansible port, the variables I need, I can add it here. For this guy, I can specify it here, Ansible. Sorry. Ansible underscore host. I can now put the IP address. Let me say 172.16. Sorry. So this is one of the uses I use FBS. I can see the error. Okay, so I go to the next. I can add other variables, maybe Ansible ports. So that's the idea. Then for the group, when you see children, it means that the group is coming. So the first thing that comes is the group name. And so this guy is the major group. That from here, that's the customer one, the one that has groups inside, two other groups inside it. So this is the customer one. Then customer one has children. So whenever a group is coming, children comes first. Then after the children, you now see the name of the group, DB. You now see host. Like I said before, whenever you see this host, whatever is coming next is the host, name of that host. So this is DB1. This is the DB2. Watch the indentation. Another sorry. Another group inside this customer one is web. So web has host, and the name of the host is this guy. Okay, so this is the same thing as this might not be clear on this call, okay, but I'll just give you the foundation. you can explore more so that when we stand on this on your mouth. So they do the same thing. Double.
Yeah, Ephraim.
Like how many minutes do I have?
You have an hour.
I've done 20 something of it. 20 something.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I'll work with that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, good. So that's for host. Then let's go to playbooks. Now, playbook is very important. Playbook is very important. So that's the main guy. So when you're pushing configurations to servers, it's the playbook is very defined. You tell you what to do, and then you need to understand. If you understand this and what I'm saying now, it's like I said before, Ansible is very easy to use. Okay, once you understand the foundation, you can go to documentation. If you understand documentation, working with documentation, you can do a lot. You don't even need people to just get the foundation, go to documentation. Now understand how it works. Now, it's a desired configuration kind of deployment. What does that mean? You tell Ansible what you want. You tell Ansible, I want this guy installed. So, for example, let me use this example. How do you want your egg? Do you want your egg fried, or do you want your egg cooked or baked? I don't know if people bake eggs. So, how do you want your egg? So that's the same thing that applies to playbook. You tell playbook, I want my Apache installed. I want now they've made it easier. Before, this guy used to be we'll still go to documentation. I'll show you the modules. Apt used to be installed instead of the state used to be installed. But I think that is causing a lot of issue. Why? Because someone would write playbook and say apt go to and again Linux is very important. So yeah, we have Ansible for Windows as well, but majorly I think majorly Linux. So if you can touch up, you can do 1 or 2 Linux training to help as well. But a lot of DevOps tools are Linux based. Okay, yeah, they will have GUI, but most of them are Linux based. So if you can understand Linux, it will help a lot. So you tell your apt that I want name of this package. Apt is a module. So you tell your apt, I want this guy. How you want it installed. Now, if you do, people used to do install, and yes, it's looking correct. I told Ansible to install Apache, but that's not how it will give you error. Why? Because he wants this guy, wants you to state how you want it. Past tense. How do you want your egg? I want it fried. How do you want Apache? I want it installed. They've changed it now, which makes it a lot easier now. So now you can use I want it present. So I cannot confuse anybody. I want it present. So I want Apache present. I want it absent. That means you want it to remove it. How do you want your service? This is service module. How do you want your service? I want it restarted. I want it reloaded. I want it stopped. So that's it. So once you can understand that, this is how Ansible wants the tasks declared, you're good to go. You're good to go. So all you just need to do is understand the modules and how to use them, and you're good to go, basically. Like that was said earlier, it's a very simple tool, so you just understand the basics and you're good to go. So let's run through the playbook. Now you have host. Okay, if you understand YAML file, this sign here, hyphen here, means that it's a list. What does it mean? It means I can add another host with the same indentation. I can add another host and give it another config. So it means that I can use one playbook I can add another host here and then specify that instead of host 1, I can tell him to do this on host 1, and then for this guy, do it on host 2. I'll deploy the same playbook to run this guy on host 1. I'll run it separate, totally different configuration on host 2. So it means it's a list. Okay. So yes, I can add other hosts here. Then have remote user. These are when I'm done with this, I'm going to documentation. I'll show you all those things. You can pick it up from there and see. There's a lot of things you can see add here. So for this particular playbook, I just need the user to run the task as root. Okay. For that to happen, I need to set become as yes. So it's telling it become yes, become root, and I can specify the user I want it to work to run it as remote user root. Then after the host and the variables for the host, you have the task, what you want to do. Okay, so name, task will have a name, install Apache. There's a reason for this name. When it's running, you see them. Well, that's what you see when this playbook is running. So you see install Apache, you see Apache, name, state, present. I've explained all this one before. So that's it. Then let's go to the module. So let's fly. But please, if you have questions on the name, let's go to the module.
Sorry, Ephraim, can I ask a quick question?
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I came in pretty late, but I wanted to ask that those templates that you were using on VS Code, are they like formats you created, or they're like available format for you to create your Ansible codes?
The question is not. Can you rephrase, please?
Okay, can you go back to VS Code, please?
Okay. Yeah.
So all these case 1, case 2 web, inventory, playbooks, and all, are they templates that you created?
No. They're not. I just created the folders.
Oh, you just created them.
These are folders on my system. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a folder going through. I just opened the folder. Yeah, they're not part of the. These are just folders.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so
hello Ephraim.
Hello
Ephraim.
So you have modules. So these are. Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Actually, from what you said, of the truth, seems Ansible have really changed a lot, because earlier this year when I was working with Ansible, most of will I say the syntax or what have really changed. So I want to ask, for example, or for instance, where you have the become yes and all that, is it possible to run it without most of those syntax, or should I use the word syntax? Like for instance, that become yes, I can't remember using it, but as you said, it seems a lot of things have changed. So is it possible to skip most of those, let's say minor ones, and it still works, or right now is something that you have to work with?
Yeah. Okay. So let me explain that. Yeah. So this task I'm running now, because actually what Ansible is doing is when you log onto a system, that's the same thing you do. It's exactly the same. So if you want to deploy, create an Ansible playbook for maybe installation of a particular software, it's always good to first of all run it manually and see what that software is doing on your system. See the things you need to do, folders that need to be created. That's the same thing you do here. Okay, now if I log on to this server, to the server I want to push this into now, and I try to install Apache, would it ask me for password? The accounts I'm using, would it ask me for password? Would it ask me to run it as a root? Would I have to add sudo? If that account can run it without sudo, maybe you need sudo capabilities, it will run it. You don't need this.
Okay.
You don't need it. So you can remove it. Yeah. Well, because the accounts I'm connecting to this host guy with would need elevation to run this guy. So I need it. So if it's a process that needs elevation, you need to put this guy become. So it's like adding sudo to it.
I get that. I get that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So these are the modules. A lot of them. We'll have that for Windows as well. So let's take a look at this. We work with service module. Pardon me, my network is not. Okay. So we have different parameters you can use. Okay. Have enabled, have name required. That's why you have to put the name of the service. A lot sleep, have states, states. So you can, how do you want the service? You want it reloaded, you want it restarted, you want it started, you want it stopped. Okay, so I have a service module. What I want to do, they have examples. That's one good, beautiful thing about documentation. I want to install HTTPD. Oh, that's nice. I'll just copy this. I want to do a playbook that requires me restarting HTTPD service. I'll just copy this guy. Okay, I don't want to copy it. I don't want the state. I don't want the state as I want it stopped. I can just add it to this guy. So like I said, this shows that this is a list. So that means I can add a lot more tasks to this. This is the also same thing as just putting service here. Okay, so HTTPD, I've added this guy now. I can just change the name, rename it. What I need now is a Nano. I want to install Nano. I'll just change it to Nano. I want to restart it now. Okay, sorry, I thought I'm working with this service. I want to restart which service now you want to restart? Let's say network service. So now the server you're working with, the OS type, Linux distro is important as well. So if I'm running this on CentOS or CentOS, I don't know, people call it different ways. I call it CentOS, most people call it CentOS. So if I'm running this on CentOS, you know that CentOS is not used out, it will fail. So there's Yum. So some apps we use Yum. Okay, and then if you want to see all I'm just showing you how documentation can help. If you want to see all the things that Yum can do for you, then let's go back to this documentation. Go to the module. There's Yum module. You can see Yum module here. Let's go to the Yum module. You can see all the parameters you can use. Auto remove. And you see the disable plugin, download directory, and then plugin. So there are a lot of things you can do with this guy. You can see the state. That's what I want to show. Absent, installed, like I said, on latest, present, removed. Okay. That's it. So you can now go to the examples and see a lot of examples of what you can do with them. Package you want to install. So you can see a lot of see the one that works out for you, the one then edit it to give you what you want. And they're all Yum module. So that's what you can do. A lot you can do with documentation and the modules you have there. Now let's look at the connection. Let's talk about connection as well. That you can add as variable to your host. Yeah. Okay, so this is for SSH connection. For SSH, what do I need? These are the variables you can put. If you want to work with control path, if you want to work with host, then that means you can do the host. That's what I did. I used the IP host text string. If you are in an environment where you can resolve the host to an IP address, you can use host name. If you resolve or rather use IP address, they can use Ansible SSH host. They'll do the same thing for you. For password, you see Ansible password, SSH password. You can see pipeline port. You can add ports to my configuration. So sometimes maybe you've configured your servers to work with ports, SSH with a different port that is not you used. What's it called? Maybe port 40 for your SSH. So that means you have to specify it because by default, Ansible works with port 22. So you need to, if you have a different port, you need to use this guy, add this guy to your host file port and change it to 40. That's the reason. So without this guy, if we put 22, it will still connect. Okay. We'll see it now. We'll do some exercises. 147 already. Okay. That's it for documentation. Even though it's not enough for documentation, but I think that gives us a summary of how we can use documentation to get our playbooks running. Okay. Yeah. Hope I'm still making sense. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Thank you. And gives us encouragement to continue. Okay, so let me go back to my talk about connection. WinRM. That's for Windows. I have WinRM. I'd like to give it that because most people use Windows as well. I see that's okay. Yeah, Ansible Windows. Yeah. So these are what you can do with Windows. The modules for Windows. These are the modules for Windows. You can do ping, package module. Which one we got now? Found. Okay, let's look at found module. So we want to connect to Windows servers and do the same thing that we're doing on Linux. So these are with file module, win_file. That's the module for file. Then you can state path and put state. So it has a lot of things you can do. Okay, state and path. That's for file module. I have an example of what you can do with them. Then for you to connect to Windows as well, you need to set your connection to WinRM. That's where you need, for example, if I'm trying to connect to this guy's a Windows server, it's not SSH. I will still need Ansible user. Don't mind my spelling of Ansible, mistake. So Ansible user, maybe admin. So with this time around, we are connecting to Windows. So you can do Ansible_connection. All these things are in documentation. So I'm not trying to, I didn't just want with the connection, then WinRM. Okay. That's for Windows. So if I'm doing Linux SSH, but it's always default. So that's why I put them. I'm doing Linux. So for Windows, WinRM, that's what you use. Then of course that means that when you come to your playbook, you're using sorry, pardon. Okay. All right, let's do one or two use cases. So do you have questions before we proceed?
Yes, please.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to know this whole automation. I know sometimes before now we did some automation and scripting with Python and PowerShell. I just want to know, are there those same tasks we can do with Python and PowerShell? Can we also do the same here, or they all play different role at different times?
Sorry, I didn't get.
Yeah, I saw something like ping now. It means that we can actually use Ansible to automate ping to like different machines on our network, which was like one of the things we did then on Python and I mean with PowerShell. Okay, so I want to know, it's like Ansible can actually do the same things we can achieve with PowerShell and the rest. So I just want to know, are there difference? Are there places where you draw the line that, okay, it's only PowerShell that can do this, or Ansible can actually replace that depending on which one you are comfortable with?
Okay, I get your point now. So from experience, these two, PowerShell and okay, currently I'm working on infrastructure automation. Okay, using Terraform, and I'm using PowerShell. Okay, these two guys can do the same thing. Okay, but the question is, they have functionalities that are way lot easier. Okay, what Terraform can deploy with now, you look at these tools based on, like I told you before, why Ansible is popular is because of how readable the syntax, how readable they are, you know. So Terraform is like that as well. So I can just go to a provider, get the resources, get download provider, and then create resources, maybe Azure provider on Terraform. And do I have anyone? No, I'm not showing you. Okay, so deploy resources on Azure with just few lines on Terraform. I can also do the same thing with PowerShell Live on Azure, but it might take me more code. I might have to do more code. That's the difference. You have to do it. So it's the way they operate. Okay, so PowerShell is good. For example, I can go to Azure AD, Windows Server, Windows Domain Controller, and I'll run one or two PowerShells, and it's easier for me to do it from PowerShell there. Ansible, I think Ansible Terraform is also working on AD to do something that on AD. Okay, but because the roots, the main tool for that guy is PowerShell, it might be a lot more easier doing with PowerShell, okay, than doing it with. So I think it's the same. You can do the same thing with both tools, but the difference now is the person using it. Which one is more easier? Which one is easier to use? Which one is more understandable? Which one with a novice in quotes will just pick up and do the same thing? You know, I can just go to you now and I'll give you a playbook and you look at it and say, for example, this guy, look at this guy. This one is for Windows. You can say, you can read, even if you don't understand all this, you can read what this guy is doing from just looking at it. Do you understand? So if I give you a power that do the same thing, you might not even understand what's happening. By the time you start seeing functions, it's function and start seeing you need to do a lot of more research to understand it. So that's the difference between the two.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's do simple. Like I said before, if you can get the foundation, you can build on it. There are so many resources out there that can help you. Okay, so this one is okay. So when you set up your inventory, the first thing that people always do most times is ping. That's the ping module. So it's not just normal ping. What it does is to try to connect to your devices. Okay, so at least you should be able to know that you can talk to those devices. Now I have an inventory file I'm working with for this guy, and this is host.ini. SSH is very important. I forgot to mention it. So for Linux configurations, you want to log with SSH. So what that means is that all the servers you want to connect to should have SSH installed. Okay, so that's the manual work. One good thing about automation is it takes you time to get it to prep it up. So if I have 50 servers, and maybe when they were deploying them initially, they didn't install OpenSSH, for example. Just an example. So most of the SSH are installed. If they don't install OpenSSH, that means I have to install SSH on the 50 servers. Any way I want to do it, maybe connect to them manually, install. But guess what? After that first task, to get the automation, that's how automation works. To get the to create the playbook, to create the script, or any type of automation, to create the pipeline, it work. But once you've done it, it becomes easier, because the idea is to make other tasks after that, not to repeat that same task again. So once you've done prepare the playbook, it does the rest for you. So once you install SSH on the servers, and then you have to generate, I don't know how you want to sign in. You can use password to sign in, but it's not advisable. You know, people would one day or the other maybe get a file and then see your password. So most times people advise to use SSH keys. In Linux, let me show this one. Though it's not part of this course, but let me show you. Okay, so there's SSH key gen that can use to generate. That's what you use to generate the key gen, to generate the SSH key. So the type, you can just run key gen and you still get the same thing. So I want to use type. Let's see. I want to use type 4096. I can add comments if I want, but I don't want to add comments. I just want to show you something. So this guy will create a public key and a private key in this part for the server. So assuming this guy I'm connecting with to my source, because the idea, the Ansible is always the central guy pushing to every other person. So assuming this is the central guy, so I'll create a public key, and then I'll push. If I continue this guy, it will create a public key. I don't want to continue. So it will create a public key and a private key. Let me just do this. I'm just looking at time. It's 2 o'clock already. Okay, SSH key gen to generate the key. So once you create the public key and the private key, you can then push your public key to all the servers you want to connect to. Okay. So what that does is that, let me paraphrase. What that does that when you're not connecting to those servers, you can either use you can either specify a private key in your host file or not. So if you're using the same key you push to them, you don't need to. So the reason I went to this, my network is beginning to mention. Can you still hear me?
Yes,
so the reason
yes.
I had to explain
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
I
we can
didn't
hear
add
you.
it here. I would have added it, but because I've already pushed my private key to those servers, I didn't add it here. So I would have added Ansible underscore what's it called? SSH private. So I've added this, but I didn't add it because I've already pushed those keys to the servers, and it's the same one I'm using to connect. So if I have another key apart from the default one I have on the server, okay, that I want to use, so I'm using the default one. If I don't need to put it here, so just pick up the default one. But if I have another key that is not the default key that I want to use to connect to a particular server, I'll have to add this guy, and then I have to specify the part where the key is on the server. Yeah. So, but I won't add it because already I've pushed the key to the servers. Okay, so these are my hosts. Host 1, host 2. This is the IP address I want to use to connect to them. So the ping module, I just want to confirm I can reach them. I can just do Ansible to specify the host file I'm working with. I might have more than one. So this is what I'm working with. Then M for module and ping I need to specify the guy I want to connect to. Or if I use I'm telling to talk to ping all the hosts in that file, but I want to okay, let me do it. Oh, so maybe that would give us. I don't understand what I'm trying to say. So you can see I can reach. So it tells me that this tells me that I can connect to those guys. Okay, not just that I can reach them. I can reach and I can connect to them. Now let's look at the outputs. That's another thing. Pinged, pong, changed false. What does it mean? Nothing was changed. There's a change in the action I did now. It will show me here that there was a change, and the color will change to amber. So there was no change. I just did connection to confirm that they can connect. Good. I want to test only host 1. All I need to do is to put the name of host 1. That is it. I'm not checking host 1. So if I have a group like that nested group I told you, all I just need to put is the group name. I'm gonna have a group here called web. So anything I want to do now, I can to control them. I don't need to put all because maybe I have other groups. So if I put all to push everything, I'll just send it to web. So I want to check if I can reach all my web servers. Oh, web. I'm using web now. I can read them. So if I can't reach anyone, I'll just go and check to know what the issue is. Maybe it's lost connection. Maybe the account password does not have access to the server. SSH is not working. There could be issues. So that's always the perfect way to test connectivity to your server before you deploy anything to them. So the first thing you want to do is just have a playbook here. All that we do on all of them. What is supposed to do? You're supposed to install Apache and restart it and then remove it. That's what I want to do. I want to run it as root. Good. So when you want to run a playbook, the command changes. It becomes Ansible playbook. Sorry. I have to locate the host I'm using. It's still the same host. Then playbook. Oh, that's a playbook that you know. So that's the playbook I want to run. So let's watch the output. So play all is pushing me to all. Gathering facts. Host 1, host 2. That means you can reach the host. Install Apache. Nothing happened. Why? Because they are already there. Okay. So maybe I've already installed Apache before, so nothing changed. So like I said, I told him to make sure that Apache is not installed. So confirm that it's installed. It didn't do anything. However, it needs to restart the service. So that's why it changed, showing that something happened here. And remove Apache. Yeah, something changed, showing that it has to remove it. So if I run this command again, it's gonna this one will change to change. Why? Because it had to install. Sorry, this guy. Because it had to install this time around. So the summary, okay, for change to 1 2. Unreachable 0 failed. So if any of them failed, any of the hosts failed, you have the results here, or the one that failed. Is this clear? It's clear. I want to believe this is clear, so I want to go to the next one. Or do you have questions? Hello? Okay. I want to do.
Yeah, right on, boss. Okay.
All right. Well, the second one is test web. YAML. So some other things we added to this guy. Host or remote, yes, the same thing. Tasks. I want to update all packages first. I want to simple as running apt updates to update the packages first before I now start installing what you want to install. Then I want to install Apache. I'm using the apps, make present. Then I'm using the shell module as well. So shell is like the normal shell you have in Linux. So it's going to run this command echo hello into this guy, this path, and argument is needed. Why is argument needed? There are the documentation I can show you. Just one time. Why is argument needed? This is an executable that cannot be run by shell. Default shell, that the shell, normal shell being sh. So we need it to, this guy will not work. So we need executable, another executable to use to run this. It's still a shell module. However, we need this guy to run it. That's why we're using an argument for it. This is what I want to point out as well. So we have handlers. What's a handler? Handlers are like what you use. It's like a task on its own, but you need, this guy is needed. So what it does is, if you're running a list of commands, okay, I just added it here just to point it out. I don't think it's even needed. I can just create a new task that will do reload, a service that will do state reloaded. This same thing, I can just change that a task and add it here. Okay, but I just want to point out these handlers. What does handler do? When you have 20 tasks to run, and each of them, after each of them runs, you need to restart the service. So A will run restart service, B will run restart service, C will run restart particular service. So you can actually use a handler and just specify that reload once. Okay, and then for each task you create, you add a notify. So notify is like, I'm done with this task, notify handler. So I don't need to create handler 20 times. I don't need to create a reload Apache service task 20 times for each one. So one will run, install Apache will run, and then I'll have reload Apache. Another install, this guy will run, I'll reload Apache again. So I can't be, that means this guy will be long. So I can just put a notify. Okay, so for each one that will notify the handler that you have to run, because when I'm done, notify this guy to run. So that's it. So so when I run this guy, it's gonna deploy Apache, create a file on the server. Now when I call on the HTML, it should display hello from daas.ng. So that's the idea. So I have the playbook done. I've tested my connections. I can reach my servers. Then let me deploy the YAML. The name is test web. Okay, it's playing all. It's going to the hosts. It's obviously package. Host 1 failed. Failed to update Apache. Host 2 was successful. But host 1 failed. But it will continue with host 2, the one that is still, until all the hosts fail. That's when the job will fail. So if you have 50 hosts and 49 failed at some point, once what is still running, the job will continue until that one complete. So at the end of the day, it will give you a recap. Now host 1 has only 1 OK, failed at some point. Host 2, 5 OKs, 4 changes were made. So host 2 is fine, good to go. So what's the IP of host 2? Host 2 is 66. So I can go to my Chrome. I can go to my Chrome. 172.254 and 10.62. Oh, by the way, correct. on 66. So the example of how you can deploy. I can deploy this on 50 hosts at the same time, deploy a particular web service on 50 hosts at the same time. So one failed and was intentional actually. Let's know what happened. So like I said before, it's the same thing you would do on one server, just that this guy helps you to do it on all the servers at the same time. So I have to go to the server that's failed to find out why it's failing. System is not missing. Okay, host one is 62. The guy failed, and it told us that it failed to update. So it failed at the point of updating cards. That's the first task I'm supposed to do. That's why it failed. So I'll go to the server. As I'm just trying a simple way to troubleshoot, because definitely you having it before you build a working playbook, there'll be a lot of failures. So you need to be able to troubleshoot to know what happened. Okay, so this is the guy. I'm run this same command on the
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I think Ephraim is having latency issues with his network. Let us give him a few minutes to join.
Hi, sorry, I had network disconnect. Can you hear me?
No, go
Yes,
ahead.
Ephraim.
I can hear you.
Yes, you can go
Okay.
ahead. We can hear you.
Okay.
Hello, I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, please ask.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So those hosts you were creating, which cloud environment are you creating them in? Is it on Azure or on AWS?
Okay, so
I believe those hosts you are creating are individual servers. Hello?
Yeah, the individual servers, yeah. But they are
So
with me, they're not on the cloud.
okay, they are not on cloud.
Yes.
So are you using maybe like VirtualBox or VMware? Sorry.
VMware.
Okay, VMware. Okay. So how are you authenticating from those YAML files? How is the YAML file authenticating to the VMware environment to create those hosting it?
SSH. So
Okay,
I explained earlier, maybe you joined late. SSH, that's how we communicate. So already I have an SSH connection done already.
Okay.
I'm using a key. So I created a key that earlier. I should create a key on my source server and post it to those servers I'm working with now. So I don't
Okay.
need to specify the password. Yeah, that's why I'm not using it.
Okay. Okay, but this environment where you are doing the YAML file for this Ansible now, is this environment a virtual machine too, or is from your local?
No, it's a for my system I connected to a virtual machine. From a Windows system I connected to. I used my YAML file to stage to a Linux.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
So
My network is breaking.
On VS Code, you have SSH extension. I installed it.
Okay.
So with that SSH extension, I connect to a Linux server. So I connected to a Linux server. That's where I'm running this from. Exactly. I installed SSH connection.
Okay.
And connected to it. I can connect. Can add a new one. Can add a new one. I can connect to a server. This. So I'm running commands from this guy on the server I connected to. So that's it.
Okay, the network was breaking, but what I hear you say is that this Ansible environment you are using now is not on your local, it's on a Linux server. You connected it to that Linux server.
It's a Linux server.
Yeah, and you have this Ansible environment installed in that Linux server. And from this Linux server, you are authenticating with another SSH into the VMware where all those hosts have been created, right?
Into the servers. It's not VMware, into the servers.
Okay, into the servers. Okay, but before those servers have been created.
Yes.
Before those servers have been created. Before the servers are created, this the VMware need to authenticate this your file now, right? Before you can.
No, it doesn't need to.
Oh, okay.
Let me come in. I think I get what the confusion is having. You have your host, right? You have a VMware. You're using VMware as your hypervisor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have the Linux host. The other hosts that you're talking to, are they Linux hosts also?
Yes, they are Linux.
On the VMware, right?
Yes, on VMware, yes.
Okay.
So I think he is not too clear with it.
Okay, so all of them are on the same VMware, including
they're all hosts they're all VMs on the VMware.
Oh, it's clear now. It's clear now.
So where is running it from? That server is running it from is serving as that is the main the controller.
Okay.
Yes.
So I can do this with VirtualBox too, right?
Yes, you can do it with VirtualBox.
All right, thank you.
You can even do with your local machine to VMs on VirtualBox.
Okay.
Once they're on the same network, you'll be fine. That's the only thing you just need to do.
Once you can reach those servers on it, where they are,
they are running on the same LAN IP, then you'll be fine.
They can be in the cloud. Once you can reach them on the network, they can be anywhere. They can be anywhere. So the main thing is you can reach them on the network. Okay, so I want to know what the issue is with my server that is failed. And the reason I did that was to also explain further that what Ansible is doing is actually what you do manually on the system. So this guy failed. So I can see. Oh, sorry. So if you can see my screen, although it's lagging, but you can see that it's failed. Files failed to download. And the reason is that could not resolve this guy. Could not resolve this guy. So that's actually what Ansible saw and couldn't continue with the installation. So what I need to do is to fix the issue on the server. And from what I can see here, it's resolution issue. So that means I can quickly go to my sorry. So I've added a DNS server for it to work with. I can go back and run it again. So I can decide to run this on all of them, or I can just run it on the host one. So let me run it on host one alone. Still. Oh, it's a mistake. So like I said earlier, this is exactly how getting something to work, you know. It's always perfect the first time, even the second time. Once you get it working, you can always use it. Okay, it's taking time. I think we've done. So I made a mistake in the address of my DNS server. It's supposed to be 15, not 7. Okay, finally. So we're able to pass that. So changed. So now install the Apache, change, and that is it. So that's the connection now. I'm sure we'll see it now. Yeah. So we're good. So do you have any questions? And I think that's the two cases I'll do today. Can go beyond this next time.
Okay, thank you so much, Ephraim. Okay, so do we have questions? Can you hear me, Ephraim?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, okay. All right, so please, do we have questions?
Yeah,
Let us ask our questions now. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
so with this kind of setup now, assuming we are pushing this file through a pipeline, and maybe this pipeline is targeting an AWS environment, AWS subscription or Azure subscription, what would be different from what we've done here? Because I assume in that case, the pipeline has to authenticate with the environment, either the AWS or Azure subscription. So what would we do differently here?
So like I said before, the host file is where the host you want to communicate to, where they are listed and how you get to them. Let me give you an example. I have one here. So this example, this is the name of the host web. This is how to get to the host. Okay, I can either use the AWS DNS name or I can use the IP address. So like I said before, no matter where the host is on Azure, on AWS, What matters is when you're specifying the Ansible underscore host, you're putting the IP address on how the server can reach, the controller can reach your server. Okay, so for example here, I'm using the DNS. Okay, so I can resolve this on my system. And this is AWS instance. This is an AWS instance. Okay, so I can either use the DNS or I can use the IP address. Okay, so I actually wanted to use AWS for this my test. But I was having connection issues, so I didn't want to troubleshoot for that. So once I can reach the instance, this is where I call it. Your AWS instance will have its public IP address. That's what you put here. Your Azure instance will have a public IP address. That's what you put here. So if you can reach those servers from your controller, you're good. That's the main thing. Is that clear?
Okay, it's clear.
Yes.
I'm using the default AWS EC2 AWS. So when you're creating an AWS instance, you have the option of selecting a key pair. So if I create a key pair, that's what I'll put here.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I call this guy, so I can add this guy to my host, to my list. I can still have my on-prem host on the same list. So whatever I get to a host, check the connection variables you provided. This tells it how to reach your guy. And this tells like that, this tells you to reach it on port 22. So every host has its own variable, unless you're using one variable for all the hosts. If you're using that, you can specify one variable for all the hosts.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it possible
Yeah, okay.
to have those playbook files or the private?
Sorry, come again?
Those are all this playbook and all the files. Is it possible for you to drop those files with us, or are they private?
I can send them. I can send them to you.
Okay.
I don't think I have password on any of them. I can send it to you. I'll send the files to you.
Yeah, okay. So in addition to what Ephraim just explained. Hello, can you hear me? David.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so in addition to what Ephraim just explained, right? So within the pipeline, how are you going to configure that? You know that your source code, your configuration management files, such as your YAML, are all sitting within your repository. Your repository could be GitHub, it could be Bitbucket, right? They're all sitting within the repository itself, right? So now, once you've passed CI, you know that your CI is always your continuous integration. That's where you build your solution, right? Once it gets to the CD is the continuous delivery or the continuous deployment. Once you get to CD, you need to release this application on a certain environment. Now, based on the different policies that you set within your CD2, your CD2 could be Jenkins, it could be Octopus Deploy, it could be, any CD2 I want to use, Circle CI, right? You are informing the CD that now I want to deploy what has been built within the CI. But for me to deploy it, right, I need to prepare that environment. I need to make sure that, for example, Apache is running. I need to ensure that maybe there's a certain host file that needs to be on that system for my application to run. I need to ensure that IIS is running, right? So what happens is that will be your first step. Now, Ansible, based on the YAML and your playbook files that you have on your repo, you are now advising the CD2 to use Ansible to configure the prerequisites, like IIS and what have you. So if it's going to Azure or if it's going to AWS, right? I'm sure that you would have actually provisioned that server already. That server is running. But if you've not provisioned it, of course, that is where the complexity comes in. That is when you now use Terraform. So Terraform would provision that environment for you because you need to deploy it. Terraform provisions that environment for you. Terraform returns back the name of whatever, the name of the IP address of what has been provisioned. It returns back, different details, and then hands that information to Ansible within the variables itself. So it passes that variables into the Ansible script so that Ansible knows what is going to go and configure or where it's going to configure it. So again, that's where the complexity comes in. But not to talk about the complexity, you hand over the preparedness of that environment to Ansible to prepare that environment. Ansible, please ensure that IIS is running. Ansible, please ensure that Apache is running. Ansible, please ensure that a certain service or the dependencies is running. You can even use Ansible to check that connection to your databases are intact. So it checks and then it returns those values. And then once everything is now is running as it's on to do, right? It now moves to the next step, which is now the actual deployment. So deployment is now done using the CD tool. So that is just the essence of Ansible. Some people do not even use Ansible. Everything can also be configured within your continuous delivery tool, right? I use Octopus deploy on production today. So within the Octopus deploy, I can define what I want to do. I think someone asked a question that at what point can we use PowerShell? At what point can we use Python and all of that, right? Now, Ephraim was able to answer that intelligently. So like there are some projects that I run on production. I don't make use of Ansible. I make use of PowerShell. What am I telling PowerShell? I'm telling PowerShell that please go to this environment I want to deploy it and ensure that IIS is running. Of course, that same function can also be performed by Ansible. So it just depends on the flexibility they are trying to pass across. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot. I was assuming that the Ansible creates the server instance itself. But from the explanation now, I get it that the server instance is already created. Ansible's duty is to prepare the environment for the application that is coming to sit on. That's what Ansible does in summary, right?
Yes. Hello? Absolutely. Okay. So, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Hear you. So the environment is created already. Now, some would actually use Ansible to create instances. It's not as if it's not possible, but it's complicated. Ansible could actually create instances for you. But why will you use Ansible when you can always use Terraform? So, but most people will always use Ansible for configuration purposes alone. Remember what Ephraim talked about. You always use Ansible just to configure what has already been set up. Do you get? And also to ensure, because you want to deploy, let's say for example now, I want to deploy a website. Before I deploy a website on the server, I need to ensure that a particular service is running. That is where you will now define all of those, all of those processes within your playbook to ensure that IIS service is running or that particular service is running. So Ansible is just like a policeman check. Is going into the room to go and ensure that, okay, is everything intact? Is there lights in this house? Is the house clean? Is there the fittings, are they intact? So that the new person that is coming in will not have to do any extracting. So you can just see Ansible as that guy that is going in to go and check that everything is intact. Do you understand the concept?
No, it's very clear now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, I have a question. My question goes thus. Since we can, okay, let's say we want to, we've written a kind of a Terraform file, want to deploy some EC2 instances with some web servers. Of course, probably with some dependencies, I don't know, some dependencies on kind of configurations. We could use some scripting. We could embed some scripting in our Terraform file. Would that be very okay? Since we are, I just need an advice on that. Would that be very perfectly? We just have to still come back to answer. What I'm trying to say is that since we have the scripting part around in the Terraform, we could just write a kind of a bash script or something, embed it, then we just run everything and it goes. Since and that might even give us the leverage of using only Terraform to do everything.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, Liman. I think your mic was kind of like muffled. But Ephraim, did you get the question? Is asking.
Can I repeat myself, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm saying while using Terraform, there's a kind of how we can embed a shell scripting inside the Terraform. So now, let's say I want to provision a server, a web server with some EC2 instances. Of course, I've written my Terraform file to provision all those EC2 instances for me. Now, I have written a bash shell to make some configuration in those EC2 instances, like then embedding it into the Terraform file. Now, would that be a best practice? Like, okay, since I have my bash scripting and my bash script and everything put in the Terraform, and I'll be using only Terraform for that particular project, or I still have to use Ansible. Now, if I have to use Ansible, what are the advantages? If I don't have to use Ansible, what are the advantages?
Okay,
the pro and cons for those two scenarios.
So let me weigh in. First of all, I would say that Terraform is good, very good, perfect for provisioning of infrastructure. Yes, you can add some scripts, user data, and run some script while provisioning the servers, for example. However, the best man for that job, for that configuration, is Ansible. And this is why. Terraform might be able to run your script, but it might not tell you whether the script worked or not. If you have an issue, you might not get that feedback, because that's not basically what it's meant to do. I don't know if they've improved on that, but if you have the user data script to run while provisioning, it might not get, once your server is up, you get notification your server is up. So the script that runs inside the server, you might not really get that notification. I don't know if they've improved on that. But Ansible will be able to tell you that the reason your script did not work is because your DNS is not resolving, like you saw in the stamp for a case I did. So you might not be able to get that. You might just tell that it failed, or it might not say that it failed, but the main thing there is the infrastructure it's trying to create for you, and your server is up and running. So you won't tell that the user you wanted to create inside the server was created. You might not get that error. You might not get that notification that it failed. But Ansible will tell you, give you that details, and even sometimes you might even use the bug to get the exact error message of what the issue is. So I think that's the advantage Ansible has over Terraform for configuration. So if you have a way to add 2 of them to your deployment, that's good. But if you cannot add 2 of them and you're okay with Terraform, it will still give you what you want. But I don't think it's best fit for configuration.
Okay, yes, I totally agree with Ephraim, like perfectly. So I think that's all the perfect response to the question. So again, now, because this is not a Terraform class, right? Now, within Terraform, there's something we call, hello, Liman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. So within Terraform, there's something we call provisioner, right? And within that provisioner, that's where you will now, include things like your remote exec, your local exec, and what are you doing within that particular block. What you are saying is you want to run some processes. For example, maybe you want to do a sudo apt update within Terraform itself. So it's like you are informing Terraform to do so many complex things aside from provisioning the environment itself. So again, just like Ephraim said, right? Why don't you just delegate duties when you just to make your life to be very easy? Why don't you just delegate duties to say that Terraform, please provision these instances for me, right? Why Mr. Ansible ensure that Terraform has provisioned these instances, then get the details and go and configure those instances. Simple. But if you now want to just kill a bird with, or how they usually used to say now, if you want to actually make your life to be very, very complex, right? That's when, or something that's actually comfortable with, that's when you now embed Ansible itself inside Terraform. And of course, you can use that within a provisioner. So a provisioner is saying that you are telling Terraform that because this is not your domain when it comes to configuration, your domain is to create this environment. But I'm going to give you someone that can do it. And that person is a provisioner, right? And within that provisioner, you are now saying that Mr. Ansible, you are going to be the provisioner for Terraform when it comes to configuring this environment. Then you now define it within your provisioner and then include Ansible inside the provisioner to deploy whatever you want to deploy. Do you get? But that's much more complex. So just like Ephraim advised, why don't you just at least delegate duties, delegate responsibilities to these tools to go and do whatever they want to do? Does that help, Lima?
Yes, it does. The question, I just wanted to know if there are some kind of core pro and cons. And thank you for the explanation.
Okay, all right, you're welcome. So does anybody have any other questions so that we can end it here? Okay, all right. I think this is a good time to end the class. So thank you so much, Ephraim, for today's class on Ansible automation. You know, at some point I was wondering how you'll be able to cover all the topics, you know, together with the hands-on, but you really did justice to it. So I don't think there's any automation that guys that you want to carry out that Ephraim doesn't know how to achieve. You know, so the script and the templates that we used to that is still being used today, if I'm not mistaken, within GT Bank, right? So Ephraim was at the forefront of creating all of those automation. You know how vast our network is, you know, at GT Bank. But Ephraim was able to come up with these scripts just to ensure that, you know, pushing installers when it comes to updating, you know, endpoints, right? We are able to achieve that. And that's to the automation master himself. So on behalf of myself and the co-founders, Oluwaseun and Nuruddin, want to say a very big thank you, Ephraim, for honoring our invitation. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, boss. Right. So again, this is just an introductory class. You're expected to, you know, take this further by practicing these concepts on your own until you get better. Ephraim kept talking about documentation, and really that's the secret of Ansible. You just keep going back to documentation to see, because things change every day. Ansible just keeps changing. Well, not just Ansible alone. You know, they keep changing things. So make the documentation your friend. Understand your playbooks. Understand your use cases. When do I need to use Ansible? When do I not? Don't say that you want to use Ansible to start provisioning environments. Yes, it will do that for you, but that's not the basic use case. The use case is configuration, and it's very simple. Like, I think Ansible is like one of the simplest tools that you ever learn out there. And it's very, very powerful. So please, this is just an introductory class. We're going to make this video available. Please go through the videos again, watch YouTube videos. I also sent a document on our DAS platform yesterday. Please download it and you know, read the documents, read the Ansible book, at is going to go a long way. There's so many other things that Ephraim, wouldn't even be able to cover, within the class today. So please go through all the documentations that we have.
Yeah,
so once again,
please,
thank you so much, Ephraim.
I want to ask, you said that platform, is it on WhatsApp or on Twitter?
Sorry, please can you repeat your question?
I said, you said on the DAS platform. So I'm asking, is it on Twitter or WhatsApp?
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, we have a boot camp that we're running presently, and it's called a DAS boot camp, right? And so that boot camp itself is just set up to mentor the next generation DevOps practitioners. Do you understand? So, and we started this boot camp as far back as July. July was when we started. So, wow. And the boot camp is hosted on a platform, on a Discord platform, where we have, different mentees. We meet every weekend, to discuss on different DevOps topics. Do you understand? And we also share assignments, and we also meet to also discuss those assignments itself. And this has been running, just like I've said, since July, and we'll be finishing next month by God's grace. So, but if you want to get a handover of what we've been doing so far, you can just go to our YouTube page, where we usually upload contents like this every weekend, right? daas.ng on YouTube, and you see all of our past lectures. But the next boot camp will be coming on in January next year. We're still trying to improve. We're still trying to improve on what we have, so that is by January there will be another boot camp for another set, and we would also have some of our mentees, which would also be part of our faculty lecturers as well. Do you understand? So just follow us. Okay.
That's on NG. That is a DAAS.ng,
yes.
right?
Yes. DevOps as a service.
Okay. So check on YouTube, right?
Yes. Just go to YouTube and type daas.ng. That's daas.ng. Then we are also very active on LinkedIn. Also on LinkedIn, daas.ng or DevOps as a Service Nigeria. You find us there, and just follow us so that once you release any vital information, you can be informed about this.
Okay.
Are we done?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Lawrence. I want to make a suggestion concerning the assignment.
So please, Lawrence, as a guy's assignment, you can just private chat me. Yeah, okay. I don't think this is the right. Yes, I don't think this is the right channel to ask assignment. So just send me a message on our Discord. Right, so I'll be able to take it up from there.
No problem. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, apart from YouTube, don't you guys have any WhatsApp platform?
No. We don't operate WhatsApp. We don't operate WhatsApp. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Now, this week is going to be a very busy one for us. For our mentees, we'll be having our Azure Teams presentation. We'll be having Terraform class as well as Docker class next week, Saturday. So Docker is going to be this time next week by 2 p.m. While the Terraform class would have to communicate the time on our Discord page, as well as the time that we're going to present the Azure assignment. So please let us prepare ourselves for this coming week. Right. I think that is that. Hello, Sheon. Nudin. Do you have any other?
No, we're fine. You've covered it all. So we meet during the week for the Azure presentation.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ephraim. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Thank you.